Hi, my name is Stuart Lynch, and this is the final video in the Building a Wordle App clone series. In this video, we'll be adding the remaining 2 features to our app, as well as a bonus feature. First, we'll enable the Wordle game's hard mode feature. Then, we'll add our version of the help screen to complete the basic feature set. And then I'm going to change the storage location of our statistics data so that we can share it across all of our iOS devices. And then finally, I'll fix a bug I found and improve the share sheet presentation. If you like this series, please leave a comment below and give the video a thumbs up. Be sure you subscribe to my channel and make sure you ring the bell to get notified of new videos. If you want to support my work, you can buy me a coffee. As we've done with every video so far, we'll start by creating a new branch. We'll call this branch Lesson 9. Make sure you branch from Lesson 8, and if it doesn't check out automatically, as it didn't here for me, make sure that you check out that branch so that you can work on it and leave Lesson 8 intact. In the Wordle game, if hard mode is enabled, any revealed hints must be used in subsequent guesses. This means that if you have used letters that are either correct or misplaced, you must use them in the next attempt, and any correctly placed letters must be in exactly the right spot. I'm going to create a new property in my data model, but I'm going to keep it separate from my statistics. So I'll create an app storage property called hard mode, and I'll set it initially to false. I'm already keeping track of the misplaced letters, but for the matched letters, I need to know the exact index. So I'm going to create an empty array of string called correctly placed letters. And then when we start a new game and populate the defaults, I'm going to set this array to be all strings that are initially just dashes. Now, whenever I correctly match a letter, I want to replace the corresponding dash for that index with my letter. So this happens in the setCurrentGuessColors loop. Next, I want to create a function that will be called when I enter the word that will first check to see if the letter is in the correctly placed location. If it isn't, I want to be able to tell the user that this letter must be in the index position. So I'll create a string and return it when the first one does not match up, and use it in a toast presentation. Now, they may all be in place, so this will be an optional string that is returned. First, I get access to all of the guessed letters, which is an array. Then I can loop through using I as the index, and if correctly placed letter at the index is not a dash, meaning a correctly placed letter was found at that index, I can check to see if my guessed letter at that index is the same one. If not, I can use a number formatter with the number style of ordinal. And then I can return a string using the formatter for the string at that index plus 1. So if it's 0, it'll say first. If it's a 1, it'll say second, and so on. And then specify that letter. And I can return that. Otherwise, I'll return nil. Next, we'll create a function for checking misplaced letters. It's similar in that we return an optional string. We'll start by getting the array of guessed letters, and then checking every letter in the misplaced letters array. If it is contained in the guessed letters array, then we'll return a message indicating that it's missing if it is. Otherwise, we'll just return nil. Next, within the enter word function, if we've verified that the word is valid, if hard mode is set, we can show toast if the return from the checks are not optional. In Settings View now then, we can add a new toggle switch for our Settings View, but first we'll need access to the Wordle data model in the environment. And make sure that you inject one into the Preview Provider's environment as well. Within the VStack, create a toggle with the string hard mode and bind it is on to the data model's hard mode property. And there's one more thing that I want to do. When I'm in hard mode, I want to know, so back in the game view, I'm going to conditionally apply a color of red to the navigation title if I'm in hard mode. So let's test. When I launch, I can go to the settings screen and toggle hard mode on. When I return to game view, I see that the title is now red, indicating that I'm in hard mode. Perfect. Now my cheating here shows that the word is which. So let's enter an incorrect word like white. I get 1 matched letter and 3 that are misplaced. So for my second attempt, let me enter the word shoot. This time, though it's a valid word, it's rejected because the first letter must be a W. So let's correct that and enter watch. Well, that W is in the right place, but when I enter it this time, I'm told that my word must contain the letter I, because that was one of our mismatched letters, and it's not in that word watch. Well, the only possible answer then is which. And I win. I can return to the game then and the settings view and turn hard mode off again, and that setting will be remembered for my next launch. Now I wanted to make this as close of a clone as I could, so I wanted to reproduce the help screen. And I'm going to do this without animation because, quite frankly, this series has gone on far too long. So I've cheated and created and provided you with both light and dark mode images of the 3 examples. So I'm going to use those to create a static help screen. So return to your project and you'll see these in the Assets folder. In your Views folder, create one more SwiftUI file and call it Help View. We're going to create a view similar to the Settings view, so first, create an environment variable called Dismiss that is linked to the environment variable's key path for dismiss. Next, embed your view inside a navigation view and begin with a VStack where the alignment is leading. Set the frame to a width that is the minimum of our screen width minus 40 and 350 to handle the presentation of a phone or an iPad. Set the navigation title to How to Play, and then the navigation bar title display mode to Inline. Return to your settings view and copy that toolbar from there and just paste it in this one because it's exactly the same. As the first item then in the navigation view, we'll create a text view using a multi-line string. We'll start with guess the word in 6 tries, and then use the markdown double asterisk to show Wordle in bold. On the next lines, we'll just replicate what it says in the Wordle Helps view. let me add some line spacing. Next, I'll add a divider. Then we'll show a bold title using examples. Following that will be one of our asset images. That will be weary. I'll have to make it resizable and scaled to fit. Now there's two more of these, so I'm just going to copy and paste it 2 more times. I'll change the second image to pills and the third to vague. And then I'll enter the same text that you see in the help screen for the app itself on the web. And make sure that you correct any typos you have like I'm doing here. I'll add another divider. And then another text view that is entirely made bold using the markdown markup tag saying tap the new button for a new Wordle. Now you notice I get this error here. And that's because within this top V stack, I've exceeded the maximum of 10 views that are allowed in any container. Well, I can solve this by simply embedding these examples in their own VStack with a leading alignment. And one more scan here reveals another typo to fix. Now all we have to do is to go to the game view and add a new state property called showHelp, initialized as false. And then in the action for the help button, I can toggle it. Then we have to add another sheet modifier to the parent Z stack bound to this property. And it will display the help view. Let's test this out now by running in the simulator. If I tap on the help button, up comes the help, which we can dismiss. Let's change the color scheme to light mode. Tapping on the help screen, we see that the images look good here too. Perfect. And now for the bonus feature. I want to show you how you can switch from using user defaults to store your statistics to have it stored in iCloud, where no matter what device you use, you'll always get the same shared statistics. And to do this, I'm going to be using NS Ubiquitous Key Value Store. Now I've created an entire video on this topic, and I'll leave the link in the description below, so instead of spending time here showing you how I put this solution together, I'll leave it up to you to watch that video. I'm just going to implement exactly what I did in that video. So I'm going to provide you with the property wrapper that we created in that video so that you can enable this feature with just a couple of simple steps. The first thing you need to do is to add iCloud capability to your app. Now, if you started this app from scratch on your own, your bundle identifier will use your own ID. If you downloaded this project as a starter app, then the bundle identifier will come with createXall. That's my domain. You'll have to change that portion to your own identifiers root. With that in place, choose Signing and Capabilities, and then tap on the plus button and search for and select iCloud. Once it's been added, check the box for Key Value Storage. And this adds the entitlements file to the project navigator. Next, locate the Ubiquitous Store Swift file that is provided in the resources for this course. A link is also in the description below. And drag it into the Models folder for this app, making sure that you choose to copy items if needed. The struct is a property wrapper and is named Ubiquitous Store, and it uses a generic codable type to encode and set the value in a NS Ubiquitous key value store for a specified key. And the reverse will retrieve and decode the encoded object for that key. I've also created a static property called stat, and that is the key stat with the default value that is a new statistic object. This works similarly then to the app storage property so that the default value on a clean install will be an empty statistic object. Now, all I have to do is to go back to my load and save function in my statistics file, and where I have the code to encode and store in user defaults, I can replace all of that code. In this one, it's simply just going to be NSUbiquitous key value store.stat equals self. And this will store the current statistic into the key value store for the key stat. And then to load it back again, we can comment out this entire code in the else loop and simply return the NSUbiquitous key value store.stat. Now this function of loading the stat is called when we launch the app, and it gets updated every time we play a game. So if we went to another device where the app had already been launched, we won't get that new stat when I click the statistics, unless I load it when I tap on that button. So in our toolbar item, before we toggle the show stats property, we should make sure that the data model has the current stat. To demonstrate now that this is working, I've built and run now on two real devices, my iPhone on the left and my iPad on the right. I'm using two instances of the QuickTime Player to show both devices on my screen at the same time. So let me show you that when I tap on the Stats button now, I'm showing no games having been played on either device, and this is what you'd expect since we've just enabled the key value storage. So let me play the game on my iPad now. First attempt, roams. One correct and one misplaced. Let me try raids. Still not correct, but I'm getting closer. How about raver? That's it, I win, and the stats appear showing the correct statistics, so we know that we have both saved and loaded the NSUbiquitous key value store. Perfect. Now the transfer is not instantaneous, so you may have to go to your other device and check the stat a couple of times before the update has arrived. But eventually, when you tap on the stats button on another device, it will pull it in from the NSUbiquitous key value store, and that statistic is now displaying on that device too. That's it. Well, at least I thought that was it, until after completing this video, I noticed three things that I can't let go. There's an issue when running on an iPod Touch. Notice that when I enter my first guess and tap enter, the flipping does this weird overlap. It only happens on the first row, and it only happens on the iPod Touch. I scratched my head over this one and I found a workaround that works for me, but there might be a better solution and a better explanation, so if someone knows, please leave a link in the notes below. I found that all I have to do is check the height within this VStack. If the global screen height is less than 600, and the only device that is that is the iPod Touch in portrait mode, I can just add a text view with an empty string. Don't know why it works, but it does. When I run again, the problem's fixed. I noticed something else that was bothering me. When we finish a game and the new button appears, the title is truncated. I can fix this by adding a minimum scale factor of 0.5 to that text view in the toolbar item. Now, when I complete a game like this and go back to where the new button has been added, the toolbar item has been scaled back to fit. And the final thing that I want to fix is the share sheet result text. If I guess the result before the maximum, the result still shows the unattempted guess at the end. Now this is trivial, but I want to fix and clean this up. I don't want to show those last two unused attempts. In the Wordle data model, in the share results function, we'll need to change how we form our result string. First, we'll create a new array called results. And for this, we'll enumerate our guesses and run a compact map. And this will give us an array of tuples where the first item of the tuple is the index and the second is the guess. Next, we'll create an empty guess string. And I'll follow that by looping through each result in the results. If the index, which is the first item in the tuple, is less than or equal to the try index, then we can add our guess string. The actual results, the second item in the tuple's computed results property, and add a new line. This will only present the result string up until and including the winning attempt. We can replace the entire string interpolation here, where we do some fancy mapping and joining, with this new guess string. Let's run this once more and make a couple of incorrect guesses before making a correct one. If I tap on the Share button and tap on Copy, it places the shared content on my clipboard. Let me bring up that sticky once more and paste it there. There you have it. Only 3 attempts are being displayed, exactly as it's done in the internet version of this app. Good. Now we're done. So make sure you commit your repository one last time. It's been a long haul to get this far, and it took us 9 grueling videos to do that. I hope in the process that you've gained an appreciation for iPhone and iPad development and what is necessary to ensure that your application works well on all devices. I've tried to share with you some of the techniques that I use when planning and testing new features, like using a playground to replicate a process before adding it to my current project. A lot of work goes into creating a series like this, so if you want to see more and support my work, you can keep me going by buying me a coffee. Thanks for watching.